So, yeah.
Sherry should be, the other Sherry should be coming,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And Maria should be coming. And you all got that. Do we have an opportunity to go to the Poetry Center in person?
I
Yeah,
know.
that's exciting, isn't it?
So exciting. They're really excited. And I said, I guess we'll just have to play it by ear. And if there's a last minute COVID change, we'll just cancel. And she said, yeah. And I said, I hope it's okay to cancel up to the day of. And she said, absolutely, whatever you need or we need. She said, you know, our policy changes at the U of A pretty quickly. So we'll just go with the flow.
That's right. That's all we can do.
Right.
I've never been there, so I'm excited.
Oh, it's a really beautiful place.
That's what I hear. Mhm.
Maria and I were walking in the area looking at community gardens, and Maria Lee and we walked over and we were peeking in the windows, and it was all under construction. So we were like, oh, are those the new cases? And the director of the Poetry Center saw us and came out and let us come in and talk to us a bit about it. So it was kind of nice. Yeah.
Cool.
And Julie's excited about it too, because she said they're really trying to get people coming back. So she's the library specialist that's going to talk to us about stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
And there's going to be an exercise afterwards too. Hi,
Yeah,
Carol.
and I have to.
Hey, good morning.
We confirmed that after I sent and the website and Krista the newsletter information. So I'll send out another little thing for them to add about the possible exercise if people want to stay. And not everyone has to stay for that, but you know, that should be really fun with Anita, because anyone who's done the little exercises with Anita knows that she's very good at it.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's fun.
Great.
Yeah. Hi. Hi.
Hi.
Hi.
Everybody's coming in.
Oh, it's good to see everybody.
Yeah. I just got out of the swimming pool. It's been great. Cloudy days. I love it.
Nice.
I had mushrooms growing in my house plants today.
Oh,
Yeah.
we have them in our garden.
Yeah, I haven't seen them in my house though. That's
Yeah.
pretty moist.
That's unusual.
Right back. Hello. Well, I'm doing a little meeting on meeting, so I won't be able to this morning. It will probably go until about 11. So. But thank you. Thanks for thinking.
Hi, Annie.
Hi, Bobby. How are you?
Fine. What have you been up to?
Oh, you know, my husband just got out of the hospital, so I've been playing nurse.
Oh,
Yeah. So I'm getting a break right now. A well-deserved break. It's good to see you all.
Good to see you too.
Hi, Connie.
Connie.
Mabel's here.
Doreen. Yay.
So it's. We might as well wait a minute or two because we'll get a few more people, I'll bet.
We have a new person, a new member Arlen, who emailed me if she could come to this. So she should be signing in.
Hi, Vicki.
Hey.
Amron.
Bless you.
thank
A
you.
bird.
Excuse me. I forgot I was on mute.
You have a guest.
Where's Julia?
Yes.
Hi, Julia. It's so nice to
Hi.
see you.
You too. It's been forever.
I know. How are your book classes coming?
They're good. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun.
Julia's teaching some bookbinding classes at the drawing studio.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
nice.
Great.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad to be teaching again, and yeah, it's fantastic actually. But it's also nice to like have some, hopefully more time to be involved in paperworks again, and I'm looking
Yes.
forward to.
We welcome you back.
Yeah, I miss the community.
Well, you've lived up in Flagstaff for a while and China, right?
In China. And then Phoenix for a little while, San Antonio for 7 weeks. It was a whirlwind 5 years.
Wow. We're glad you're back.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm back too. Thanks. Thanks.
Linda.
Hello,
Hey, good morning.
good morning.
Hi, Lynn.
I'm seeing a lot of pink.
Hey, everyone.
Oh, we are in pink. Isn't that interesting? We must have called each other.
Oh my goodness, you have a bird on you, Sherry.
Yeah, well. He has to sit on me sometimes. Being,
Oh, I'm about to get a parrot. I'm
oh,
gonna get a
what
parrot
kind?
soon. A black-capped conure. My studio dog died recently. She's been my companion. She was my companion for like the last 13 years. And
Wow.
Oh,
I just decided not to get another dog. We have another dog, but it's bonded to my husband and it goes out to his studio with him. And we're getting a very small travel trailer next year, and 2 dogs in a small travel trailer, but a dog and a parrot might work. And it's a looks like, what do you have, a cockatoo?
Yeah, it's a Goffin cockatoo.
Okay, so the conure I'm getting is one of the smallest conures, and hopefully it's supposed to be one of the more quiet ones, although I've had cockatiels in the past and I know none of them are really quiet, but hopefully I tend to swear a lot, so I'm hoping it won't pick that up. They're not supposed to be really good talkers, so we'll find out.
That'll be interesting, a bird in a travel trailer, because conures can be noisy.
Yeah, these are supposed to, this species is known to be a quieter one, so
Good.
as long as it doesn't learn to swear, and they don't tend to be as good of talkers as some of the others, so those are 2
Yeah.
things in my favor, hopefully.
I wanted to say hi to Amron.
Yeah, hi, Amron.
Welcome.
Hi, Amron. How are you? Oh my God. Oh, we were in bookmaking class at Pima together. The one that happened after Maria Lee left.
Yeah, I
I'm
started
glad
at
you're.
the end of the semester. Did you? You didn't, did you?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
After we turned to the video version of the class, you were done, I think, right?
Yeah, I
It was a lot.
wasn't really sure how that was going to be, and I felt like as a beginning bookmaker, I mean, she was a very, very lovely young woman teaching us, but I didn't feel like her teaching style was going to do really well with video, so I just decided to do it on my own, and that's my own personal opinion. It might have been a fabulous thing that I missed out on, but I was okay doing what I did.
Yeah, and hi, Julia.
How are you?
Hi, Krista.
So nice to see you.
You too.
Well,
Bobby, your hair is getting really long. Look at
Getting
that.
long, I know. We'll see.
Yeah.
well, we have 2 people who are going to speak to us about their books today, and I'm really excited to see what they have for us and hear what they're going to share. I was wondering if Bobby, you would like to go first? Bobby
Sure.
Wilson?
Yeah. I think I'll do a share screen because I did a little photograph show. But I have to say, when Joe asked me, I'm like, this is really tough to talk about what you've made, and I don't feel competent at all with poetry. So this group has been great, and I love it. So I like making books, like blank books or images, but anyway, working on it. So I'm going to do a share screen, and let's see. Oh, how do I do that? Hold on. Haven't done this for a while. Am I sharing screen? Do you see?
No,
Not
not
yet.
yet.
Not yet.
The green arrow at the bottom of, if you scroll to the bottom, do you see a green arrow? Your screen?
Okay, hold on.
Mine's at the top, but
Oh,
Let me just open
but
it.
it's a green arrow, yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Everyone should put their put themselves on mute also, so Bobby can.
Bobby, if your cursor is not over the Zoom meeting screen, the green arrow share screen down there won't show up. You have to move your cursor over it to activate it. All the buttons on the bottom will pop up, like where you do chat.
Oh, share. Okay, here we go.
great.
Now let me find. Come on. Okay. Now. Okay, now do you see? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Stop this. Come on, move out. I want to get to well, anyway, let's do play. Okay, so I took Maria Lee's book class a couple years ago, and it was a great class. Maria's a great teacher, and for our project, we had to do a book at the end. And so this was the book that I did, and I called it Rock, Paper, Leaf, and it has eco-dyed pages in it, and a fun binding, but I needed to put words or content in it. So I decided to write haikus, which is the simplest form of writing poetry for me. And I thought I could get through this by writing some haikus and then putting them on the pages. But what I decided to do was, how was I going to print? And we talked about this last time in our group. How am I going to get my haikus onto the pages? So I used my old Smith Corona typewriter, and I got that out, and it was really hard to use it. You forget what it's like with the keyboard. This is the inside of the book, and then it's my eco-dyed pages in there. And so you can see some of my haikus. What I like about the typewriter is that it skips, it's unpredictable. It's not always, perfect, but I think it's okay for the eco-dyed pages. I think it kind of fits with them. And I tried to do haikus that were a little bit about nature, what I see when I look out my window. So I named chapters, and then I bound them together. But as you can see, like the moon dims slowly, it skipped there, but in a way I kind of like that part of it. So then after that, I made this book. Again, I have tons of eco-dyed pages and what to do with them. And so then I took the same group of haikus that I had written and decided to put them in this book again. And these eco-dyes have a lot more iron in them, but I kind of like how the haikus go with some of the moody pages, and some were a little bit more colorful. Again, you can see all the mistakes of the typing. just some quick haikus. So that was my ending page for that book. And then with now starting on the Poetry Center, I thought, well, let me try reusing these haikus again and made some books for the book exchange. So I was thinking of different formats. And then this time I took the haikus and I printed them. I printed them from my computer in a font that I liked, kind of like I was writing them. It's a little bit of a handwriting script, and cut them into leaves. So I wanted it to look very organic. This is a small little book. The cover it's an accordion book. It has a leaf on it, and it's some encaustic paper and the leaves. And it's a double accordion in there. And I called the book Whispers. And I also used mica in the book too. And these poems can be taken out and read and put back and rearranged. And they're kind of like leaves falling. So that was another reinvention of my same haikus. But then it's like, okay, I need to start writing and writing other things. So I have to say, one of the things that, let's see, Anita told us about was this book, Thesaurus of the Senses. I really like it. It's really lots of great synonyms for words, and to make your writing more come alive has been great. And I also ordered this book, Poem Crazy, and it has a lot of great writing prompts, which I like. And then I've been collecting words and phrases and cutting them up, and from magazines, whatever, where I see it, and then cutting them up. And it's really kind of fun to take all of these, put them out on the table, and pick words that kind of speak to me and start playing with that. So that has been kind of fun. And so one of the other prompts that Anita gave us was to take one of our drawings or a picture or an image that we really liked. And for me, it seems like images really get my poetic side, the writing side going. So the exercise was to take an image that I did. So I did that was a collage, and then to turn it 4 different ways and work on the poems. So this one, I mean, it's kind of a crazy poem, but to me, it fit the mood of the paper, or the image turned that way, and then turned upside down. I wrote another poem. Actually, it's kind of a dark poem, but anyway, it's how I felt. Then turning it to the side, thought about drift theory for some reason, and with my word bank, and it was kind of fun making a little poem that way. And then turning the collage the other way, that's what I was thinking about. So those 4, now I don't know if this is going to be a book or whatever, or what to do with it, but I have those 4 poems that I wrote from that image. Then I've had this book that I made a couple years ago, and it's a cross-binding structure. I really love the structure. With encaustic cover, and then lots and lots of colorful pages. And it's all just colors and, very abstract. But it never had any words. I always felt like that book was lacking. So I started thinking about colors, and I've been reading a book on color too. And I decided I would do traits for the colors, like give them names, just like a personality traits. The colors have traits too. So I named the book Color Traits, and how to get text into that after I have already completed the book is another issue. So with that, I decided to do a little stamp pad with a little alphabet. And I called them things like baffled butter, manic mauve, prickly periwinkle, caustic celery, unseen ultramarine, muscular melon, slinky silver. Anyway, it was just a lot of fun coming up with words. And so I don't really know if this is poetry or not, but it was kind of fun. It has filled the pages, and it goes with the images. So I feel like it's combining image and text. Mournful moss. And again, when you're doing, that kind of stamping with an ink pad and your little stamps, there are mistakes and you don't get things perfect, and I can't get it in the straight line, but it kind of fits with what the paper looks like to begin with, which is kind of messy. And then I decided to work on some collages. So I did a series of 20 different collages. And then from these collages, I want to write poems for them. So I was given this wonderful black blank spiral notebook. It's about a 6 by 6 inch square, and it's been sitting there, I need to do something with it. So anyway, I decided to make these collages. I think they're all about 5 by 5 inches. And that's the spiral that I was given, and it was ready to use. So I didn't have to make a book to begin with. And that's my cover. It's temporary. I don't know if I'll use that, but I put that on the cover and need to think of words. But I mounted all the collages on the 20 pages, and that now I am working on poems or poetry or words to go with them. And so I have the collage on the right, and then on the left is the poem I've written about it. Now on the left, these are just kind of taped in there, those white things. I feel like I need to put a box around them, or change the text, or I'm kind of playing with that part of it. My collages I have in there on the right side, but so for me, the image kind of evokes some words, and it helps me to use my those words I've cut out, kind of helps. So that's what I'm working on now. And it's been kind of fun. Now here, I know, like the beware part, I have to rework that, but center it, see if it's the font I like. And I think that's it. So I'm going to stop my share. And that's all I got.
Lovely, really lovely work.
Thank you.
That's all you've got, Bobby?
Oh, it's amazing. My gosh.
I know.
The
I love
one-
the way you say you're not a poet and then you've all this poetry.
Yeah.
Yes, I thank you for all of the work that you did to share with us. It was just so inspiring, Bobby.
Well,
And
thank
thanks
you.
for your over-the-top involvement.
Oh, well,
You
thank you.
really made a big effort.
Thank you. But you know how you feel when you write things, like you wonder, is it good? Is this poetry? Is it not? That's still my question, really. But
Well, I think poetry
it.
has changed over the years. It's gotten more modern, and it's different than it used to be when we were growing up and when we were in school. Poetry had certain forms, but I'm finding that the young people today, when they're writing poetry, it's all modern. It's words kind of strung together that kind of give you a feeling. So yeah, I would say it's poetry.
Yeah.
right. And in a way, and I've been reading a lot of different authors too. So that's been
Mhm.
good for me also. And in a way, it's more free than writing a prose statement with a sentence that you have to end. In a way, it's a lot of, you don't have to capitalize things,
Right.
punctuation. You
Yeah.
can put really descriptive words together that
Mhm.
maybe don't make sense. So I'm kind of enjoying that
Yeah,
part.
that's great. I loved your leaves one, the whispers.
Yeah.
That was just so outstanding. And I love the variety that you can do. You can take them out. It's an interactive book. And I love that.
Thank you. Thank
You
you.
know, you might also be interested in this book here. I thought everything, first of all, I thought everything that you wrote, Bobby, was poetry. I mean, it was absolutely beautiful. It was you. One of the things I've been learning in the poetry writing courses I've been taking is the best way you can write is to write like you would talk. Don't have artifice. Don't use words you wouldn't use.
I lost you.
Yeah, she froze up.
But Bobby, I wanted to say I really appreciate seeing your word placement on the page. The way you worked with your eco-dyed leaves and everything was just really beautiful, and your placement was
Of the
perfect
typing?
on the typing and all the others as well. I think you have a good sense of where the words would flow with the images. Yeah, I really like that. And I do know that we talked last time a bit about how to get words into books, and a finished book is the hardest one to try to fit a word into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you get the paper and the typewriter?
Well, for
Isn't
the
it kind of thick?
ones, well, it was just, one sheet each. I had the sheets kind of planned, my folios kind of planned
Right.
for that book. And then I took out each sheet and decided where I wanted to type it.
But I mean,
but,
it fit in the rolling thing.
Yeah, it was just one sheet. It was an Arches text wove paper.
So yeah,
So it
okay.
fit in. Yeah, and kind of fit it where I thought, in the image where I thought it would go.
It looked
And then,
so great there.
but then, it skipped and it's like, oh my gosh, I made a mistake. But then I'm like, okay, the mistakes are part of it,
Right.
because the eco-dyeing, you can't do anything with that, how things turn out. So
I think what struck me most, Bobby, about your work was how authentic it is.
Oh.
What I envision you having done is just sit with your image and just let it spill out. And something that was really a portrait of your feelings about it. It was just absolutely beautiful and moving. Wonderful.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
I love too that, you took one of your collages and you turned it 4 different directions and wrote 4 different poems. I just think that playful and creative, and I don't know that I would have thought of doing something like that. So yeah, very inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you.
One of the things that I have been reading, can you hear me?
Yes.
You're a little low.
One of the things that, I think the poetry currently is emphasizing not so much what the poet wanted to say to you, but how you receive and relate the poem or the image to your own life or your own psyche. And I think that is different. We're not looking for what the message is from the poet, but rather and that's, I think, how you know that a poem is of the more modern genre, and why it might be good, because people will start to say to you, and even if it's just one person, people will start to say to you this really, I could integrate into where I am. And I think when, when, for example, somebody here today just used this felt authentic. That's the kind of feedback that I think would be really very reassuring to you that it is poetry.
Thank you.
I just received a text from Lynn Hart and her power went out, but she's trying to get back on with us, so she'll come on when she can.
Bobby, the piece with the 4 poems and the one collage in different directions. How did you come across to do that, or what was the idea or impetus?
Well, actually, Anita gave us one of the prompts was take an image from a magazine or some artwork you've done or something that appeals to you and look at it one way and keep turning it. So this was an old collage I have done. Anyway, yeah, at one of our many workshops. Anyway, I thought, I kind of like this, and it's abstract enough. I can think about different things. And so to me so it really helps me to have an image, I think, to write the poetry. I've kind of decided that it helps, so.
I really responded to that as a teacher as for like a future exercise. And it made me think of like, how can you push that even further? But what if you had those pieces from the collage, but you did it 4 times, but each time the pieces were glued down differently, but using the same shapes.
Oh, I like that idea.
To inspire another poem or something.
Oh, I like that.
So that was what I was thinking when I saw that. I thought that could be a fun way to even take that a step further.
Yeah, that's great.
Great. Well, thank you, Bobby.
Thank you.
Anyone else have anything else they want to say about Bobby's books, or should we move on?
It's just
I
lovely.
just wanted
It
to
was
say
great.
real quick, I love that idea that you finished a book with all of those beautiful pages and you didn't quite feel like it was finished. So you tabled it for a while and then later came back to it with the words. I thought that was a nice way to say, I'm done with this for now. This is all kind of I can think about doing, but I like that you got to revisit it and then it felt finished. It
feels finished to me. I mean, yeah, that color book. I mean, it's silly and but it feels done. So
yeah.
I was gonna say kind of what Amron said. I just, we end up with so many pieces of things we've tried or experimented with, and some of them are so beautiful on their own, but then you put them all together in just this beautiful, almost like a 3-dimensional collage of pieces that, it was, I love it. Fabulous, beautiful.
Thank you. Well, you guys are very affirming. It makes me feel like I'm on the right track. So thank you.
Yeah.
So want to move on to Roberta. Are you unless there are more comments? Right, Roberta, you want to take it away?
Okay. I will share my screen also. Okay, where is it? I've never done this, so hang on. Okay, I think this is it. Okay, is that working?
Yes.
Okay. Hold on. Oh, view. Okay. Slideshow. Okay, so this is me. When I first moved here, I did a lot of gelatin printing of the plants because the plants were just so interesting and foreign to me. So I spent a long time just doing that. And I ended up as you say, with piles and piles of prints. So then I went on to doing these are still gelatin prints, but I started making, instead of using plants so much, I made my own masks and things. So the feathers were real, but everything else was like the moon, and everything else was cut masks. And then these are some more. I used wallpaper for the texture. So after a while, this project came up for this collaborative Wish You Were Here book project, and it got me to thinking that, I hadn't made any books in a really long time. Like I previously was a book designer, but textbooks. And so during that time, I also did just some little accordion books and things, which I'll show you later. But so this was sort of getting back into and learning more about bookmaking. So this was I really had fun with this project. It was just it was interesting because I didn't have to do the art. I just had to do the covers, and then everybody else applied the art. So so that was my first venture into making books again. So then I took this class called the Seated Notebook. And basically what you did was you took a big sheet of paper and you made a collage. Well, not really a collage. You just stuck papers down, scraps that you had laying around, which I had a ton. So, and then you cut it up and make a book out of it. And it's really interesting because you see they just change so much, you just see the artwork so differently than when it was just a scrap sitting on your desk. So then I said, okay, what am I going to do in here with all the blanks, parts? And in the class, people were doing drawings and making marks, and I didn't feel comfortable with that. So I started cutting up these old paperback books that I had, and I really found poetry. I just liked the way the words just sort of come together, and it's in one way it felt sort of like cheating, like, oh, that's not really poetry, but it just worked for me, and it made me feel like I was putting words in the book. So I like that idea. And so then I started writing, like making little collages in my sketchbook. And this was just like Bobby was talking about haikus. Those seemed doable to me because they were, short little. So this isn't like a real haiku, but it's just short and to the point. Whenever I look up in the sky here, there's always a moon, really, because there's no clouds. So I wrote about that. And so I don't know if it's poetry because I don't consider myself a poet. So there's that. Then I was making these I took a class that I was learning to make these little pockets. And I thought, well, you could make a book somehow out of the pockets or attach them as pages, like you can see up in the left here. I just attached them, I glued them down, and you could put poems in there and you could interchange them, and, kind of like Bobby's leaf idea, but only these little pockets, and you could put your little poems in as you wanted to switch them out or whatever. But then I thought, well, maybe there was some way to bind the pockets together, but I don't know enough bookmaking techniques really, but so I have to think about that because I think it would make an interesting book if you knew how to bind it correctly. So that's sort of floating around in my head. Then sometimes I just, I had all these I carved all these stamps, like letter stamp. I love letterpress. I'm a frustrated letterpress person because I don't have a press. And so I just carved all these letters, and then I had them all just hanging around in piles. So I bound them into a book. And so you could put something on one side, you could have the letters on one side and then maybe words on the other. I mean, because there's always a blank page when you bind it, when you don't really have anything on the other side. So it's kind of a good opportunity to leave some space, but then you'd have to paste your words in, or somehow vellum, I don't know. So that was one idea I had. This was just more scraps that I bound into it. I think this is a Coptic binding because I learned how to do a Coptic binding. So I was making 1 million of them. So these are some of my leftover monoprints. And, like I said, I don't know what all the plants are, but they're so unique that I can't get enough of them. So this little book, I really think this has an opportunity for words because it's small and it's only 10, it's like a board book. There's only like 10 pages. So you could put poems on them somehow, but I'm always afraid to ruin the artwork with words. So there's that. But I think that would be a good structure because it's freestanding, which I really like that idea. And this one I did with the birds. They were monoprints that were in the reject pile. And then so the inside is all feathers and moons and my usual vocabulary of nature stuff. So I like that structure a lot. I'm definitely, if I do enter anything in the show, which I still don't know because I like other people's words more than my own. So I think the poems have to be your own. So I don't really feel confident in that yet, but we'll see. This is another of the freestanding with my monoprints that could probably somehow get words incorporated. This I did years ago when I was feeling very overwhelmed. I was working, I was taking care of my grandson, I was just frustrated. So I wrote this little book called Domestic Captivity, which I had forgotten about. And so this is actually the closest I've ever gotten to any kind of poetic thing with words. It was about taking care of my parents and death and birth. And I was kind of a mess. So came out here. And the interesting thing was that the paper, the prints on the back were just, I was learning how to do linoleum cutting, and these were some of the textures they taught in the class. So I thought it made an interesting backdrop to my mental state at the time. So there was that. And so these are some books that I put my little type people. I think I told you I carve a lot of type when I don't feel like doing anything else. So I make things out of the letters, and they always end up to be people with little heads and clothes. And the one on the top there, I like the little the carving. Those was kind of a bear, but those little, I forget what you call them now, like wingdings or something. So so that's something else that maybe could get words. See, I don't really have an idea for words yet, so I don't know. Then lately, this is my most recent thing I've been doing. They're not really eco prints. I don't have, I just don't have the size kitchen or the bringing in the plants and boiling them and that whole thing. So these are actually done with watercolors. I bring the plants in and put them on top of watercolors and then press them overnight. So there's no boiling and steaming poisonous plants in your kitchen or anything. And you can change the colors, which I love, according to your palette. Like, I think this was ultramarine and raw sienna and some pyrrole crimson. And, the batch I did the other day was cerulean chromium. And so you can really make it like different, it's like a whole different thing, but you still get the interesting shapes of the plants and the flowers and things. And this is another one with a different palette. I think I used Goethite in this one to get that brown. I think you have more control over what it's a different look really than the eco printing. But like I said, I just can't. It's that eco printing is just too much for me. So then I made little books, and these are blank books, 2 signatures, and I really like the way they look as book covers. So that's my latest project, working on getting them to be nice and sturdy, like adding another piece to the spine on the inside so that the spine doesn't tear with the stitches and all that. So it's been a little bit of a learning curve with learning how to use them. I also did them as a Coptic. And so this is a Mexican bird of paradise, which makes such a great print, I think. And so I used and then for the inside cover, I did the end papers as well with the faux mono eco prints. So there's that. I think that's it. I don't have as much as Bobby, but that's what I've been doing. I've been let's see, how do I get out of here? Let's see. Stop the share. Okay. I've been having a little trouble the last couple of weeks. My grandson joined the Army, and I've been very stressed, so I can't think of words or anything. It'll probably pass, but right now I'm just like trying to find busy work. And so the faux printing sort of does the trick for me, and poetry is just not happening right now. So I'm going with the flow.
Roberta, how did you do the watercolors? Did you put the plants, did you watercolor first and then lay the plants on it? Or?
Yeah. And you just make, I use BFK printmaking paper, which really takes the water well. And I do it on plexiglass so that it stays wet for longer. And so I do the whole wash and figure out my colors, and it's like just making a wash really with different colors. Then I lay the plants on, then I put plastic wrap over it to keep it moist overnight. And then I pile the books on and leave it and forget about it. And it's great. I really like it.
I liked it too.
It's very much easier than eco printing. I mean, eco printing's a lot of work. Too much for me right now, but anyway, that's it. That's me. That's what I've been doing.
Personally, Roberta, I wouldn't call it faux eco printing. I would call it plant monoprints with watercolor.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. It's mono, because the other monoprints I did on the gelatin plate were with acrylics.
Or monotypes, I should say.
Yeah. So this is really more like monoprinting, just leaving it overnight to really impress.
Really its own thing. I'm so sorry I missed the beginning of yours. I don't know what happened here. We had a power.
You disappeared.
I know, it was awful. What I was about to say, and I'm just going to be very brief, because this kind of goes along with people feeling like they don't know how to write poetry, or they're stuck about how to go about doing it. I got this book some time ago before I started taking any kind of writing class at all. I mean, I think I've had this thing for at least 5 years, but it's the Handbook of Poetic Forms.
Oh, that looks interesting.
It is very interesting. It's very educational. I'll hold it up here for a couple more seconds while I kind of describe what's in it.
Okay.
It's a whole bunch of poetic forms. It gives examples, and it kind of tells you how these poems are written. And I'll just open up to the table of contents, and they make it very, is it backwards, or can you guys see it? It looks backwards to me.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's working.
It's in alphabetical order of the types of poems that are in here. And some are so simple, it's amazing. And if you didn't know they were poems, you wouldn't, have known about them. And I mean, it goes from abstract poem down to the last one is wordplay. And there's other ones in here like macaronic verse, villanelle, tanka, tercet, but maybe it'll be helpful for others. It's not that big of a book. So you can see it's pretty slim. But it's really a cool kind of thing. I used it. I had to do when I was working as a naturalist at Sabino, they asked me to do like a field art and science field thing for the whole entire 8th grade from Esparero Middle School came over for Science and Art Day. And we had all those children there, and it was a bunch of them. And they said, aren't you an artist? Why don't you do a science and art thing? So I came up with a way for kids to, I had prompts for them to draw. And then I realized that not a lot of people draw, and that's same for kids. They may not be confident. So I came up with writing prompts to be inspired by the canyon and write poetry. And I used that book to identify some very simplistic forms that the kids could do. And it was a really big hit. The kids actually wrote me, I got like 20 handwritten thank you things. With one kid drew a picture of me with my little pinhead and a giant hat, which was hilarious, but it worked out really well. And it's a really, really handy book. So
I'll have to look into that. Yeah, because I could use some lessons. Thank you.
Roberta, for your text to not bother your art, have you considered like putting your text on either tracing paper or a vellum and tipping it in? That way it would be there, but the art would not be disturbed.
Oh, that's a good idea. You'd have to do that before I don't really know how to tip in. Do you do that after you bind it?
After it's bound, and you put like just a little sliver, no more than 1/8 of an inch, if that much, of glue on the very edge that goes in the spine.
Yeah.
And you stick it down into the fold where it is, and it just glues to the very edge. But most of the artwork will be
okay.
It won't be covered up with words or anything, and it'll just still be.
That's a great idea.
Be there.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. Thank you.
And you can see the words, see the artwork underneath the words when it's close the pages down. So
you type it, you would like print it out.
Type it or print it on tracing paper or vellum or something translucent, transparent.
Right. I like that typewriter
and just tip it
idea.
in. Yeah, that'd probably work better than a printer, because the printer is probably going to scrunch up your tracing paper if you don't tape it to something heavier. But so something like that would probably work.
I would have to look for a typewriter, I think, because I think that's what I need.
Goodwill.
Yeah.
Goodwill. Speaking of Goodwill, this is completely off topic, but I went yesterday and somebody had no longer had use for a 20-page pad of arches.
Oh.
Cold press watercolor, 18 by 24.
Oh my God.
For $15.
Wow, that's a good deal.
Not used, never been used. So I grabbed that.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but what was that, Lynn?
I said, how did you not scream out loud in glee?
Yeah.
Well, I just went, what? And I saw the green mass, that is the cover of their paper blocks. And
right.
I thought, I knew it was going to be like $50. And I'm not pro artist, so I wasn't gonna spend that much. But you know, $15 for 20 sheets of Arches paper, yeah, I'll spend that. So
Yeah.
it's sitting there waiting for me to come up with some wonderful idea to put it to use. Maybe colorful pages of some kind that have done different things. But anyway, all right, back to whatever the
Well,
back to our
Roberta-
regular programming.
Roberta, I just wanted to say, I loved your, the letters you've carved.
Oh,
Those were great.
thank you.
Those were
think
so
they
cool.
Really powerful. And I think that you might be too attached to poetry because there was a page in your pocket ideas book that looked like a bunch of giant carved letters on it.
Yeah.
And they were very beautiful and they didn't really say anything, but it was an artful use of letters. And you could just use ones that actually say a word.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were big and bold and looked like they were fully integrated with your printmaking style. So
Yeah.
You took the
Thank
words
you.
right out of my mouth, Joe. I was gonna say the exact same thing. Your carved letters to me felt like you. And then you have to consider that the theme of the show is called Imagine. And I feel like it sounded like you might be too hung up on like, I have to create a poem. It has to be words, but I think we've been using the word like text. And I feel like maybe everybody can ask themselves also of like, what is text? What is imaginative way to use text versus what is a poem, right? So anyway, I totally agree with Joe. I just thought I loved your carved text and the way, like the ones that you made people or figures out of it. And then the just real graphic ones with the text going sideways, that it was text, but then it became something else. That felt really authentic to me.
Oh, thank you. I like doing those. They're fun.
And may I just clarify something that I think I heard somebody say? The poetry or a poem or a fragment or, you know, whatever that, you know, that you use as the poem doesn't need to be your own. Is that correct? It can be somebody else's poem.
I don't know. I think we were asking people to use their own or collaborate with someone.
No, actually, Anita said we could use someone else's as long as it was out of the, what do you call it? Out of the
It's in the public domain.
Yeah, as long as it was in public domain.
Yeah.
Or the other thing Anita said was, I think she said you could use up to 7 words of an author's work.
Oh, without copyright infringement?
Without copyright
infringement. If you use we just learned this in my writing class that I'm still in. It's called an epigraph. If you use a line from a poem in your poem, you just have to give credit to that poet. And it has to be, you know, you have to say from, okay, just imagine a line of text and then in quotes, and then you say by the author from the book, book of poetry that it's from. You can do that. But I don't know about using an entire poem. We haven't talked about that, but if it's not in the copyright, but and another thing I just wanted to add really quick, what Joe was saying about, and Maria were saying about just using a word or text as an artful use of words. There's a good example of that in that book I just shared with you guys, and it's called A Concrete Poem, and it just says concrete poems use space, and I won't read any more of it, but here's what they've done to show you what this word did, what these words did. It's just using the word itself as an art form. And it doesn't have to say anything. It doesn't have to, this is, you know, a couple more examples of that. They've just taken words and made it like it's kind of a visual poetry. It's taking up space. It's not telling a story. Or there's another one in here, calligram. and they're showing how this one's called It's Raining, and I don't think you can see the letters, but you can see the forms, the form that on this page where it looks like raindrops coming down. If you want to see it bigger, put me as the speaker on your screen and you can see. And on this page also, it's an example of using text and words in an artful way that's in this book anyways, it's considered a form of poetry. And there is a thing called visual poetry, and that kind of, I think, is what this is. I'm no expert, but I'm thinking that these two forms are considered like visual poetry. And it's still, like the theme of the show says, it's an artful use of words and text. And I think for people who are uncomfortable writing, that's something that could be explored. In fact, I had forgotten about that. Now I'm going to kind of think about it for some of the stuff that I'm doing, because it
Let me tell you that Anita's and mine's work that we're doing on is really a play on word. It's playing with words. It is not poetry as such, poetry. And we'll share it with you, I think probably next time, but we have an image and we also have text, but I'm telling you that it is not a poem. You guys kind of need to get that out of your heads. You have to think of this as a way to tie words of any kind, of any sound, of anything, you tie them to something visual. But don't think of it as writing a poem for an image. What Bobby showed was absolutely 100% what they're looking for at the Poetry Center for this show. It wasn't, she didn't have what she considered poems, but she had wonderful play on words that went with her images. And, you guys just have to get that out of your head. It has to be a poem. It simply does not. Joe, are you agreeing with me or not? I see you kind of smiling.
Yeah, I think that's great. I wanted to go back to Krista to make sure we answered or you were finished.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. Krista, did you have more you wanted to ask or add to that?
No, I think if I have a little bit more to ask about what the writing class that Lynn seems to be, Lynn, am I right? You're taking it right now?
Yeah, it's called, it's Poetry Forge. I'll put we're almost done here.
Yeah.
Poetry Forge. Holly Wren Spalding, Spaulding, is a published poet, and she runs a website called Poetry Forge, and she offers it's a course in poetry. You do not have to be a poet to take it. I'm like a stealth poet. I write, but I'm not a published poet. But I've learned so much taking these classes from her. They're Zoom. She's got one starting in September, and it's the whole month of September. And basically how she runs them, the one I'm doing now is self-paced. But the one in September that I'll also be doing, there's a live Zoom session once a week. And every day you get an email from her with different forms of poetry that she includes. It's not like it doesn't take you all day to read it. It might take you 20 minutes to read it with a prompt related to the poem. And then once a week, she has, I think it's an hour-long session live via Zoom, where she does some live stuff and does some live prompting, timed writings usually.
Hey, Lynn, we're out of time. Can you put a link to that in the chat?
Yes, ma'am, I sure can.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
No, that's okay. I understand. I saw that we were
Yeah.
looking at my clock. and I
Yeah.
saw-
I just wanted to say that Sherry and Anita are working on the final call with all the specs and requirements, and they should be getting it out probably by the end of August, right? Or sometime.
Yeah, it's looking like that. We have a first draft.
Okay, and so that would hopefully answer a few more questions, but thank you all for coming.
Thanks.
All right,
This was
thank
great.
you.
So inspiring.
I actually love that there were two Robertas
Oh,
speaking.
that's right. That's right.
Thanks
I
very much.
always forget
Thanks,
that.
everyone.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.